2020 for $19,601.83. And the second is February 14th, 2020 for $19,898.35. I make a motion that we pass these two warrants.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Stanley in the general fund.
I have the general funds dated 2/04/20 to 2/18/20. There were 70 invoices. Total amount of money was $58,692.20. Our DPW was responsible for 28 of the invoices for $21,443. The town manager was responsible for 14 of the 70 for $7,955. The fire department had 8 invoices for $1,652. Care stands by themselves, and their bill there was $12,071. And the rest of the warrants or the invoices were amongst the other 3 or 4 departments. So there's nothing really outstanding. A couple of Cargill salt. How we doing? We're pretty back and forth on salt.
We're doing okay with our volume. We're gonna spend all of our budget this year, I expect, and maybe a little more.
We need good roads, so.
Yeah, we'll try to lower some of our expenses in some of the other areas, but yeah, we're spending it all. Those small storms are good for material use.
Based on the information I looked at, make a motion to pass the warrant for $58,692.20.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So, Al, you know,
So I have 2 warrants. The first is for the Infrastructure Development Fund in the amount of $100 for WD Mason. And the second warrant is for the Industrial Park warrant, which covers the sewage pump, the sign light, and the road lights in the total amount of $805.82. And the third warrant for the DPW Reserve Fund for $690 to Duncan.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the warrant for the industrial park. Are we still paying for pumping?
Hold on a minute.
There's a quarterly maintenance fee. We're not paying for it, the taxpayers are not paying for it, it all gets billed back to.
I understand that, but we
Yeah.
put new pumps in,
Right,
right? There have been new pumps put in.
right.
So, but we continue to have,
You have, like,
ongoing maintenance
a
contracts.
quarterly checkup, sure,
yeah.
yeah,
So which consists of Drumeck or whoever coming in and pumping out?
correct. Not pumping out, just a maintenance
Oh,
check.
for maintenance, okay, thank you.
You're right.
So I move these 3 warrants be approved?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And just to, those bills for the industrial park were for the Green Mountain Power, for the lights on the road,
Mhm.
side
Right.
light, and the sewage pump, not the
Yep.
drum mat.
Okay.
Okay. So, that's it for warrants. Let's move on to minutes.
Oh, I move that the minutes be approved as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so now moving right ahead to public comment. Anybody here to make a public comment? Or something that's not already on the agenda? Okay.
Well, I'm just, mostly just an asking of a question for the future, for a future meeting. But we need to have a report on the roads. I've been driving around and boy, I tell you, some of them are really in bad shape.
Meaning,
Because of the heat, the frost heaves and the crazy weather patterns we've had. It seems to me they've ripped up badly. I can tell you this, on French Hill, I drive to Swanton Hill Road often, and French Hill's the worst I've seen it in 40 years.
It's only gonna get worse too.
Yeah.
and then we've got money on the books
And
in
Clyde
the
Lane has got a huge hole, it almost looks like a sinkhole.
Clyde Allen
Clyde Allen,
at the end
yeah.
on the loop. Yeah, that might be from too much pavement on the base, I don't know.
Well, whatever,
Yeah, we gotta look into it. Now, we've got money on the books in the local option tax fund, and maybe we need to look at spending some of the cash on hand on rehabilitating French Hill. It's pretty bad.
well, let me just say this. I know DPW has plans to fix the under drain by my property and then further on by where the Brunels live. I guess my question is, we've talked a lot about rebuilding that road at a cost of $1 million. If we fix those underpasses, are we wasting money if we don't fix the whole road?
I don't know, I don't think,
You want a professional opinion? Yes, you are. I mean, we're going back like every other year, every third year and paving French Hill.
No,
no.
Well,
Hasn't been
we
paved.
paved it, what, about 4 years ago?
Only at
capped
the very
it.
front.
Well, capped it. It's still putting pavement down on it.
We put
I think
pavement,
what should happen is we should bite the bullet and fix the problem up there. And I know it consists of quite a bit, actually.
Yeah,
There's trenching that has to be done and irrigation. There's a heck of a lot of work.
Yeah.
But why can't we do it a section at a time? I mean,
yeah, well, I'm just raising the issue that we look
Oh,
at
okay.
it, not discuss it.
no,
yeah,
I
okay.
just,
Yeah,
we capped it in November, which is the bad time of the year to do
Yeah.
it.
Right.
we threw money away, as
We
far as I'm
did.
concerned.
But it was such a bad shape, it had to be done.
But when they dug it up, they called us and I went up and looked at it. There's 18 inches of asphalt on that road.
I think only on the front if it's there.
It's right down near Stan's house.
Yeah, I mean, you've
Yeah, around
reviewed that
that
a number
area.
of times.
Yeah.
I mean, with the section that you're referring to, we repaired ourselves and it's held. I mean, even right now, it's
Yeah.
in pretty good shape. So I
Very.
don't necessarily think that doing the entire road is our first choice. I
No, I
think
mean-
fixing it like we did in front of Ron Bonnet's
Sure,
house
you do a
worked.
little bit at a time.
if we need to unlock 250,000 of funding or whatever it is, I mean, we've got enough cash in that reserve for infrastructure, we should, I mean, some of our highest residential tax bills come off of French Hill and we should, you know.
This is clarified, not for me.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's true, I mean,
Or me. Or Stan.
But let's look at it a different way. Last year, there was a structure fire on the backside of the hill.
Right.
Correct.
And the fire trucks,
Couldn't,
the guy with his helmet on put a dent in the roof, he hit a frost heave right by your house.
I know where we
And
did
it
it.
would be very easy for a truck to go off the road.
Yep.
it's a safety
So it's a
hazard.
safety issue.
I think we need to look at maybe coming up with we've got 2 elections left after town meeting day with the primary and then we have the actual general election in November. Maybe we could look at doing something in 2021, something substantial beyond what we have planned.
Alan and I both belong to are members of the Transportation Advisory Committee, and we're not alone. Our meeting last week, right, Alan? Every town around here has got some severe road problems.
Yep.
The sign of the times.
Any other public comment?
I could just add, at our Parks meeting, with my Rise Vermont hat on, we had hired consultants to do a trail count at the Bay Park and up in the town forest, and they came back with a full report talking about the economic benefits of having these trails and what that translates into actual jobs and taxes coming into our town. So I'd be happy to bring those reports to the select board and talk about them, if you guys
Please
are
do.
interested. Okay.
Yep. And speaking of the Transportation Advisory Committee, Exit 19, that was under a study, correct? Has now moved up the ladder a little bit to a project. In the hopper for a project. So it went from number 3 on the list. Alan and I talked him into putting it up to number 2.
No, it's a
If we're
serious.
just doing little quickies here, I'd like to get something out.
Sure.
I talked with Carrie. We've got 14 roads, not 14, 28 roads where we plow and we go on private property to turn around. And I'm telling you, after this wicked storm we have with the ice blowing, rain, snow, it's very dangerous to back those big trucks up. So we probably should look at spending some money, getting the easements, do whatever we gotta do to make a hammerhead, get something so we can turn these trucks around. If one of our operators ran over somebody, it would be devastating for their lifetime and for the family that
Was.
inflicted the damage on. It's terrible. Right there at Thorpe Avenue Extension, they go up to the interstate, then they gotta back down to Tanglewood. Hathaway Point Road, we've been plowing that for years and years. We go around the curb, then we back that big truck up to turn around in Bob White Circle. We don't know. And during that storm, I was looking out the window and I said, oh man, we had 3 cars off the road going up front side of French Hill. I call Allen. He said, I'm on Congress. I'll be right there. But people won't stay in their vehicle. They get off the road and they gotta get out. And he's trying to back up to get salt by their rear wheels and all. It's dangerous. But that we just can't help that.
We can look into it, but what you're talking about on French Hill wasn't a result of a turnaround, it was just a bad
Right, it
storm,
was just-
for clarification.
Right, the turnarounds, maybe if we do 5 a year or something.
Yep, we certainly can look at that, and we intended to recently, but we got sidelined by the garage and the extra time that took, so absolutely make it a priority.
We have a lot of work for the DPW to do this summer.
Yeah, we do.
Is it a room in most cases, Alan, for a turnaround?
Some cases, yeah. Just it will take money.
Of course.
Well, that's a
Sorry.
shock, Alan.
Oh, you got Pearl Avenue, Pearl Extension. You know where they are.
Now I know.
Yeah, we'll look into it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Prioritize it.
Perfect. All right, any more discussion on roads or any other public comment issues? All right, let's move on to agenda item number 5, the rules of procedure and communication policy with the town. We have to come up with something a little bit more concrete in our select board rules of procedure. I've done it within the last, I think it was November 2018, and it just happened again.
I did it.
Yeah, we're using titles in the paper, talking about town-oriented politics or business. And I think it might make a lot of sense to reference the communication policy in the rules of procedure. That way, if a new board member in the future wants to look up their rights under the rules, they can know that if they only pick up the rules of procedure and don't know to look for the communication policy, it'll be referenced and then they can go and read it. I just want to set people up for success in the future because it's pretty clear that the town manager or select board chair are the official liaisons with the press, which includes print, broadcast, and web information outlets. But that's not referenced in the select board rules of procedure. So if we could work to have a draft that included that and then maybe talk about it at our organizational meeting in March, I don't know, I think that would make a lot of sense.
So I have a question.
I think you're right. I mean, clear clarification is good. But I'm not up for making any changes until after the election day. If you have a new board, make the changes and get on with the new
Yeah.
year, new changes.
Yeah, it's just having the draft ready for that meeting. Al?
So just for clarification, if I write a letter to the paper and say, as a private citizen, is that acceptable?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Because what Bruce wrote about wanting to thank the board from 2014 and everybody who was involved with implementing the local option tax, that's a fair message. We should work together to generate a good version of that, and I think that's what that policy's there for. And then it's just not pairing, public messages that make a lot of sense from the town's perspective with political talk. And, it's just drawing that line and making sure we don't cross it is all. I did the same thing. I used my title when I endorsed candidates for election to the Senate, state Senate and state representative. I've been there. I've done it. So it's just making it clear for everybody in the future. is all.
It is clear. I believe it is. if you look at the 6.2 in the rules of procedure, it references the conflict of
Conflict of interest.
interest document. You go over the conflict of interest document on page 8, and it tells you exactly what your liberties are. So,
Well, it doesn't give a clear, I mean, I have that in front of me, I'll read it. It's, are you looking at?
yeah, it's right there. You got it.
Right here.
Yep.
So it's basically saying that elected officials aren't, all right, let me read it out loud. It starts on page, you wanna go to prohibited conduct, 6. No covered person may use his or her official authority, I wanna say that might be a typo, but official authority of the purpose of interfering with or affecting the nomination or election of any candidate for public office, or demand or solicit from any individual direct or indirect participation in any political party, political organization, or support of any political candidate. Covered persons are prohibited from using town facilities, equipment, or resources for political purposes, and from pursuing political activities, well, it says pursing, but I want to say it's pursuing political activities while working. This is not to be construed to prevent employees from becoming or continuing to be members of any political party or organization, from attending political party or organization meetings or events, or from expressing their views on political matters, so long as these views are clearly articulated as being those of the individual and not of the town. And these activities do not interfere with the individual's ability to effectively perform his or her duties and take place or are expressed during non-working hours. Nor is this to be construed from prohibiting, restraining, or in any manner limiting an individual's right to vote with complete freedom in any election. So that's saying, as long as you're telling the public that, well, there's two things there. We can't use our position to solicit support from employees. And then we can't pass political messages along in our official capacity. And when we do that, we have to come out and say, this is me as an individual. So you're right. But it doesn't say who can. Like, if you want to pass a message about a project, you work with the manager and the chair per the communication policy. And that's what more or less what I was hoping to reference in the next round of rules of procedure.
I also believe we have to follow the procedure. If you start violating the procedure because it's mundane, like right here, I believe it's 7.2 in that paper you just read, you'll see that every item has to be warned before we take action.
Select board votes must be taken in warned open meetings. That's voting under section 7 of the rules of procedure,
Yes.
right?
And we violate that quite often.
Select board votes must be taken in warned open meetings. We don't take votes in unwarned meetings.
Well, sometimes, like the last thing of December, the errors and omissions, I made a statement that we cannot take action unless it's warned.
But I don't
And we
know,
took action.
well, it was a warned open meeting.
Yeah, I think they're,
But, no, it's gotta be, the article has to be warned. Aaron was here with me, and so wasn't Anna when the state Secretary of
Yeah.
State was here giving us that class.
he might have stated it at that class, but it's a matter of debate with a lot of lawyers that we're allowed to amend our agenda. Otherwise, why would we be legally allowed to list other business?
You can amend the agenda.
Well, that's what we've been doing.
You can't make a motion until it's on the agenda.
On the next agenda?
On the next agenda.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
you can talk about it, but no action to be taken.
Until you warn it on the next meeting.
Yeah.
And that's what I think it says basically in here.
Well, I'm fine with that. I mean, if that's the way it is, then that's the way it is.
Yeah, because we can't put rules in one place and not follow it in the other.
Right, so I want to add, under the rules of procedure, there's a current section 14, that's rules amendment, or how to do a rule amendment. And it's, I think that should remain as the new section 15. And I think we should do a new section 14 that specifically references the communication policy,
Fine.
and then leave it at that. That way, if,
Wondering with the communication policy, should we take the opportunity to address social media?
I think the line is specifically, the town manager, select board chair, the official liaisons with the press, which includes print, broadcast, and web information outlets. So I
Okay,
guess,
So any sort of web should go through the town
But-
or the chair.
I just don't know that social media qualifies as press, if you had board members who were debating that. But I think as long as you were saying that it's your individual opinion in your social media post, you're protected under the policy, no?
So I don't know if
I
you
don't,
saw the post today. It was that St. Albans webpage, and they were saying, what do you guys want to see in your community? And people were writing things, and they kept saying, board members, chime in, chime in.
Right.
So,
Right, I think
I
I
didn't
did at
chime
one
in,
point.
but I was
No, I
reading
don't
it
think you're
all.
supposed to, because then
Yeah.
if 3 of you start doing it.
It's a meeting.
Yeah, then it violates.
Right,
Yeah.
so I guess
Bad
we,
idea.
Stay away
We know
from
what we're
that.
gonna do.
I'm not a big social media guy.
We'll make
It's
it.
a St. Albans.
We'll fix it.
Page on Facebook.
I don't know who's monitoring that
I don't
either,
know
but
either.
it's best not to
And then-
vote.
Yeah.
we've
Yeah.
got,
Yeah, because if you get 3 or more people,
That's correct.
you're violating another rule.
right. So while we have the conflict of interest policy open, I want to talk about one race. Our current animal control officer does a great job, Dave McWilliams. This policy says, and I think this rule was put in place after David was no longer on the board in 2017, a select board member shall not have a paid position as a town employee. I just want to make sure Dave's aware of that, and if he wins, I mean, that could be an issue, because he is the best ACO in Franklin County as far as I'm concerned. Other than that, I mean, we read it, but I'll point it out again, because sometimes it can be a
I
gray
believe he
area.
knows it, but
He knows it, yeah.
We just, while we're talking about the rule, conflict of interest again, we can't use our official authority to solicit support for a political candidate. And that'll go all the way through November. I, as a select board member, can't call Alan and say, hey, are you gonna vote for Amy Klobuchar? Or, or who you primarying for? I can't apply political pressure. So just while we have that open, that's worth noting. So other than that, that's all I wanted to talk about. Just get a new draft for the organizational meeting, and then it'll be more clear for everybody. That said, if somebody would make a motion to recess the select board meeting and to open as the liquor control board.
I'll make a motion to recess the select board meeting and open as the liquor control board.
second,
All in favor?
I,
Okay, so we are the liquor control board. We have 3 license renewals in front of us. St. Marie Enterprises, second class, that's the base store. Pizza Hut, first class. Kinney Drugs, second class. Anna, any issue?
No issues.
Okay, so if anybody would like to make a motion to approve all 3 of these renewals,
so moved.
I'll second it.
any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we need a motion to adjourn as the liquor control board and reconvene as a select board.
Can I just say so moved?
Yes.
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 Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
select board, we're back.
That easy, I would have done that.
So we were going to have an in-person update from Superintendent Greg Hale about the Northern State Correctional Facility, the prison on Lower Newton Road, but he is ill, unfortunately unable to be with us. Carrie, do you have anything to?
He just wanted me to pass along that if you have any questions or concerns, please share it with him and he'll look into them. Otherwise, he'll come back in a month or 2. I mean, we asked him to come back, as we do once a year, just to give us an overview. We get quarterly reports though regularly if anyone has any questions,
Is
that are pretty thorough, so.
and just out of curiosity, is Superintendent Hale still interim superintendent up in Newport?
I think he is. I
Yeah,
haven't seen any appointments.
he must be stretched pretty thin.
Yeah.
Poor
What,
guy.
he's doing 2 locations?
Yeah,
Right.
they had
Ooh.
some major administrative issues in Newport from what I read.
I know he does an excellent job here in
Yeah.
this town. No news is good news, right?
Right, and I read the quarterly reports. They talk
He's
about
very thorough.
everything from maintenance to prison population incidents. They're very thorough. So.
Now, not to, you
Yeah,
wanna
there's
explain
no
the
other
next-
action required. It was just an update.
So this is really your report. You should, if you wanna lead, go.
I will
ahead.
go on, yes.
Perfect. Sorry about
You were
that.
getting carried away there. I thought.
I was.
I'll just watch. So the next one is kind of an interesting and fun question. So Paula Johnson approached the town a little while ago to ask if the town would consider putting a plaque up at the Stone House. She had some history that actually I was unaware of, so I'm gonna let Paula come forward, if you could, to the public comment table. Just brief, yep, right there, so then they can hear you a little bit better. For our TV viewing audience, it's fast, don't be nervous.
No, I'm not, no.
I didn't think so.
So Carrie, members of the Select Board, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to address you tonight. It was my great-grandfather, Manford Jarvis, that gifted to the Bay Park all the red stone that is down there, and also built the toll house and the bathhouse that's at the Bay Park. And so I was at an event this summer down at the bathhouse, and I was just looking around, and I noticed, you know, there wasn't any kind of a plaque there, and I just thought it was something that was long overdue, and something that should probably be put up in there. And I'm not asking the town to put any funds into it. It's something that the family would pay for. I'm just asking, I guess, for you to give me some guidelines as to, you know, how big or how small it can be, and you know, something to that effect.
I think.
And if you would be amenable to that as well.
Al?
Is there a plaque already that indicates that the building was put up by the CCC?
I didn't notice it.
There is.
There's one little plaque down there, I'm not sure what it references.
Okay, so being that, let's assume that there's no plaque. I would like to see that we have a plaque that notes that the rocks were donated by, in conjunction with the CCC Corps putting up this building. You have a great book on it and tells us all the history.
Paula has it right now.
Okay.
I have it right now.
So I would like to recognize all the contributions, the men and women who put it up, federal government who paid for it, and the local citizen who provided the materials.
And if we do that, I think it should be at the town's expense.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that,
If that's okay with you, I mean, I know you came for
I
one.
think our memorial, we have
yeah,
a,
no, that's fine.
we have a policy that we just made last year, no, 2018. It's a memorial and community gifts policy is what it is.
They're
And-
actually aware of it.
Yeah, and I think it gives us superseding authority to be able to create new, I'd have to read it, but I mean,
It doesn't prevent us
doesn't
as a
prevent
select
it.
board to do anything we
right.
want.
So we'll do it on behalf of the family
Well,
is
have
what
you
I
ever
would say.
thought about one
Okay,
of
that's an
those
awesome idea.
historical markers like they have by the
Oh.
dock, where it gives a little history and has some photos and could list the family name?
I think that's a
I have
state,
not thought about that.
It'd just be neat to have a historical marker
Yeah.
with some of the background and maybe an old
Yeah.
photo.
It's nice to
Oh,
look at
that
something
could-
and have the history of it, so
Right.
you can understand
Right,
where it came from and how it
exactly.
got there.
Oh, that
And,
sounds,
No aerosol
That
cans,
sounds like-
by the way.
that sounds like a great idea as well.
Well, we'll work with you
Yeah.
and I think Alan can probably find some money in his sign budget.
no, if you go for what Jessica's suggesting, I think that's a state function. We'd have to work with the state.
You talking
Oh,
about like
even
a
on
It's a,
town
we own the
lands?
park though, I don't,
little podium type thing?
Yeah, you know when you see it go to a historical building, they have like
Oh, yeah. if you
something
put-
bigger with some photos and
Yeah, I know what you're
history
talking
and
about.
a
Yeah.
story, just so
But
you
it's
know what
made
you're
out of
looking
brass,
at.
right?
What?
Made out
Not
of brass
always.
or,
I
No,
think-
not all the time.
Are those they're related to Lake Champlain, right? Because I think they go all the way
Oh,
up
they
into
do,
Canada as
yeah.
well. So I think it's something about the Lake Champlain shoreline. So maybe it's an organization that puts those up, and you see them all along in Burlington. as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Some in the city, they installed some, and it represents the railroad, there's one in front of the
Yep.
museum.
Eco Science Lab, if you go down there, they have a pretty good history on Lake Champlain. And, you know, traveling. For a matter of fact, the building outside, the four different colors of brick on the building indicates a fault line on Lake Champlain, which is
Oh, that's
pretty neat, I
cool,
think.
yeah.
I got a
Yeah.
couple ideas floating around. in my
Yeah.
head that I can-
Well, let's work with,
Find a few
So-
samples.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think time-wise, this would work out well, because I'm thinking of more of this for like 2021. I would just ask that I be included in the wording, I guess, or in however you wish to proceed with that.
oh, we'll work with you
Get-
directly.
Okay, great, okay. Did you have any other questions?
No, the only sign I'm referencing, in front of Taylor Park, there's a sign that describes the whole, the
The brass,
Civil War.
the historical placement.
Right, that's the type, and I was thinking putting that on the lake
I just,
shore.
you have to meet a very strict list of requirements to get that marker, right? Maybe
don't
we
know.
do, but
I don't know.
I don't
It
know.
just
Yeah,
seems
we
to
should
me
look
that
into
we've
it.
got-
You're not your own.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Pardon?
we just build our
I
own.
know what you're talking about, Alan.
He's
You
cleaned
throw
it.
a couple things together.
You don't
Yeah.
wanna overcomplicate it either.
Yeah, we'll come up with something that looks
That
beautiful.
could be done
and-
in addition too, but yes.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
we'll come up with something good, and it'll be a good time to do it now that we're rehabbing the building.
Yes, I understand that you are doing that, so, yeah.
Goal is to have the cupola and the doors done by the
Be done
25th.
before May. Cool weather right now is kinda relucting us from working up on a roof, but it'll be all done by.
So who can Paula work with?
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, who do we want?
Alan or both of you?
Alan.
Get with me, I'll-
Well, I have her
I see.
email, so I mean, we're
Gary?
gonna have to
Gary,
have some
yeah.
discussion about this. I mean, we don't have to be at every meeting, but we usually have some either phone
Well-
calls or emails.
It shouldn't take long to figure
yeah,
out
and
how
I
we're
don't
gonna do
mind
it.
being at meetings, so
Is there
that's
a,
fine.
is there a reason why 2021 over
Oh.
the summer?
Probably should elaborate on that. We're having a big family reunion. So, the relatives will be there, and I thought it would be nice if we had
Unveil it.
some kind of a,
Would you
little
mind if it went up sooner?
unveiling or.
Okay, we wanna
That-
wait to unveil it then.
Right,
Okay, I
if
think
that's,
a
if
reasonable
that's cool,
request.
and it gives
We
you
don't
plenty of time as well.
Well, as long as they spend a whole lot of money in St. Albans town.
Well, we're rarely asked to slow things down, so. We'll
I
take
thought
that.
I thought that would be a plus.
That'd be really great, yeah. I will do it.
I think you've got unanimous consensus to move forward.
Okay, well, thank you, I really appreciate that. I think it'll be great for the town as well.
Thank you for coming down.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you very
Good
much, I
history lesson,
appreciate
too.
it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, just one more thought. On your,
Yes,
just one more thought.
I'm sorry.
On your family history, there should be somehow that recorded at the St. Albans Museum so that other students that look at that and want to go more about what happened, what the town was like and when your family was here.
I agree. I have sent an email to Alex, but I haven't heard back from him.
Okay,
Okay,
But yeah, that's kind of in the back of my mind as well.
be
okay, good.
perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
That'd make a
Great
nice
suggestion.
small.
Because he brings the kids down here, so if he had the reference up there also.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
So we've got a petition for a certificate of public good from Green Mountain Power.
Right, there's no action required, but you just copied on it. Try to put it in here just to document that you actually have been copied on it.
It's right here if anybody wants to read it.
There's a lot of links on there. It's, they send us a lot, trying to save paper, so they don't send you the whole shebang anymore. But if anyone sees that and has some concern, they can let us know, we'll print some of it. We also are trying to save paper. The last item on here doesn't require a motion, but I thought it might be worthy to spend a couple of minutes going over the questions on our town meeting day
Yeah,
article.
absolutely, go right ahead.
So I'm gonna fly through them if anyone has any questions. So the first article, we have a total of 8, is the election of town officers and their respective terms. The second article is our traditional request for funding of our budget. And so our amount to be raised by taxes is listed as $3,922,666. And the third article asks to reduce that amount by $100,000. We have traditionally asked that for many years. It's not a guarantee as we have continued to spend down our surplus, basically. But this year, we're asking taxpayers for permission to apply another $100,000. And Article 4, perhaps one that's been discussed at length, is the community pool article. The article reads, it has to be a yes or no question, so we've tried to get a lot of information into one really long-winded question. But in essence, what we're asking is if the town taxpayers will support paying a bond for the community pool with local option tax dollars. We are proposing, in the same vein, we have signed a memo of understanding that would then, instead of the Hardak Recreation Area being wholly owned by the city, would then become half town, half city. And the rates would be equalized for use of that community asset. But I've heard from a number of people, not a number, maybe like 5 so far, that are concerned that if we vote yes on this article, somehow that precludes us from spending local option tax dollars to support a town hall. And that's simply not the question we're asking taxpayers to do. I mean, we get almost $900,000 a year, and to ask to obligate less than 200,000 of it to a community pool does not preclude us from also doing the same thing if we want to use those funds to build a town hall. So I don't know if that's fear-based or if it's just misinformation, but it's not accurate to say that if we build this community pool, we somehow cannot afford to pay for a town hall. That's just not accurate. So I just feel compelled to share that like 3 times, so sorry. It's an important point though also that we're not raising taxes. So Alan's heard this and I've heard this, that the new garage is great. We moved into it a couple weeks ago. But I've heard a couple people say, well, we didn't even get the bill for that yet. How much is that going to cost us? And, you know, again, we used local option taxes for that. A lot of us here at the meeting, I'm preaching to the choir, but just if I reach one person, I think it's worth it. That your taxes aren't going up because of the garage. We use local option taxes. We've used our savings account basically to build that structure. And we love it. So we want to thank people for allowing us to do that. I had just 3 Hardak and, users. So the last thing on the pool is that it will be, we're proposing to have this facility open 12 months of the year, which is a big change both for young and old and everyone in between. And that currently the reason that I think our board focused on this project fairly early was that over half of the current users of the pool are town residents. So there's certainly people from other communities, but St. Albans City and town residents use it quite heavily. So.
And talk about fees.
The fees for the project will and should offset a good deal of the operations and maintenance costs for the pool. The city has agreed to take on that responsibility and offset it with fees. But they are trying very hard to keep those fees at a reasonable rate.
And they'll be joined.
Are we gonna have another?
Fee.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Al.
And
You can just say it.
And that the fees will be universal for both city and town residents, they'll be identical.
Are we gonna have another community meeting here?
We are, we're gonna have one on March 2nd.
And
And the city is having one, I think, or might have had one last week.
we've invited Recreation Director Kelly Vians to give the presentation.
Oh, good.
Yep, Kelly Vians will be here to answer any questions.
Aaron?
Yes.
And,
Hi.
go
I
ahead.
just had a question, I don't know if this will be part of the informational session, but, so the difference between the fees and the expenses, could they provide, or could we provide, the town and the city, like an estimate of expected expenses and estimate of expected fees, just so we can kind of see a potential?
Yeah, so, I mean, the intent here is that the city is going to create that, but we are not going to be obligated to pay any of those fees, so.
We will pay user fees
We will
as
pay
residents.
user fees that are similar to the city, but they are creating those right now because obviously they have right now a 8-week program. And so they're going to be calculating what they anticipate for fees going forward, but some of that is unknown.
There's a difference between the expenses and what the fees are raised.
Mhm.
Is that, so my understanding that the city is taking on that additional?
That's correct.
And the town would not take on the additional?
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that was something I did not pick up.
I think that's a miscommunication too.
Yeah.
We won't be getting a bill from the city in a
Correct.
year
Yeah.
for chemicals and operations.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
So
But
it's
I-
really just the initial expenses.
That's
with
right.
LOT.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you bring up a good point though, because regardless of whether or not we're paying any of the fees, we are investing a substantial amount of money. And we want to make sure that it's successful.
Right.
Al?
And to that point, the pool itself will cost about $3 million. And the other $2.5 million is going to go into the park itself, the infrastructure for a new road, more parking spaces. So in fact, those more parking spaces address the soccer problem when we have so many soccer teams playing in the fall in particular. And then the other activities, whether it's skiing and things like that, there'll be a lot much more parking, safer, and there'll be lighting at night for nighttime skiing, things like that, soccer.
Yeah.
So the pool, $3 million, and if city tried to rehabilitate the existing pool, it's $2 million. It doesn't make much sense. Because the city pool would only last another 10 years at best, where this pool hopefully will last anywhere from 30 to 40 years. The new pool would last 30 to 40 years.
Yeah, the shelf life on the dome is about half of that, but they've
Right.
got that,
Built into the fees.
Right.
It's
They worked
beginning
out.
to sound like we're trying to sell this to the public.
No, I'm just trying to
We're
answer
giving
the questions
information.
because I've attended so many of these meetings.
right?
So haven't I.
Oh,
And there have been public meetings where the same information was brought up to the public and has been in the paper, so.
Are you,
But we're still not reaching everyone. I think in
saying-
an abundance of being
was that
transparent.
an argument that we shouldn't relay information whenever
No.
possible?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But, again, I'm gonna go back to her question, and I think I'd like to see that myself, because of the amount of money we're investing in the project. You wanna make sure it's gonna be successful. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Okay.
All right, so that,
Article
I think
5.
we beat that one a little, so I will move on to Article 5, which is a non-binding question that we're asking taxpayers to whether or not they support moving the town hall from the Bay Area, and we mean
What's
obviously to St. Albans.
Specifically, is it, do legal voters of the town support having the town hall remain in the bay? That's the, so it's same thing, but that was the
How does
language
that
we
read?
decided.
Do the legal voters of the town of St. Albans support having the town hall remain in the Bay Area?
Wordsmith by,
We debated that quite a bit, but that's what we came down on. Yeah, we can't change it, that's what's on the ballot. So further edits are just not gonna happen. So Article 6 is the pre-development question regarding town hall. Get us into the schematic design phase or pre-development phase. We're asking to use some infrastructure development funds
and
to
that's,
analyze this project, not necessarily exactly where it's going to be, but to get us to that next phase.
and that's really learning from our mistake and not doing that as a precursor to the DPW project. We had spent 6 figures out of the general fund that if the project had failed, we would have been out.
We would have found the money somewhere.
Right,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, we
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to reduce, it would have been ugly. So we're trying to do it now, get the approval, have it be a little bit more transparent of a process.
And as part of our plan to hopefully come back in November and ask a question about
Town hall,
building the new town hall.
right?
Article 7 is the question regarding to re-up the annual contribution for our fire department reserve fund. Currently, it's worked well for us so that it allows us to pay cash for our apparatus and avoid loan fees. It's a good program. This level of $125 a year will allow us to continue to do that for quite some time. I can't say forever, but for a while. And the last one, Article 8, is a request to purchase a plow truck for DPW.
Again?
While we're on that,
Again,
can I ask a question of Alan, Carrie?
yes.
Okay.
Is it short?
Would you be willing to, I just have a question on equipment. Because you had told me some things when I was taking a tour of the DPW facility. I'm wondering if you'd come up. That way we have a good view of you for the camera. We're near your microphone. Yeah. So I'm
They won't
wondering,
recognize you. Who is
Only
that
on the way
talking?
so the plow truck that we approved last year, it's
Yeah.
not on the road yet, right?
No, it is not. It is scheduled to be going to be set up at 1st of May. So I probably won't see that truck until November or December if I'm lucky.
And we're looking at a similar timeline for this next truck that we're approving now.
Well, if the voters pass this truck, I get it ordered right away. I might see a truck chassis by late fall. So it'll probably be the following winter before I see that truck.
So we're strapped just
So
because
there's
of
a
industry.
backup. So it's nothing Alan did,
Right.
nothing we did.
It's
but-
an industry backlog. And do you want to talk
Correct.
about a couple of the challenges you've had with our current equipment in the last few weeks?
Well,
Not to
the
put you on the
truck,
spot, but
the truck that's going in May to be set up was supposed to be replacing the truck that the engine just went in it. So, and this is just something we're trying to fix. It's just, we're trying to squeeze too many years out of a small truck with the amount of pushing that we're doing. And I think, you know, it sounds crazy, each year we're going for a plow truck, but you guys gotta understand that we got 6 routes right now. The more roads we take on, the longer we're out there, the more plow trucks you gotta get out there. So if a small truck, the lifespan roughly is 5 years on like a Ford 550, because it's a lot of wear and tear on a truck when you're plowing with a wing and a plow, plus all the weight of the salt. Your tandems, you can get about 10 years. So if you start thinking 6, 7 plow trucks out there every year, our rotation is just about every year we're gonna be asking the taxpayer for a plow truck. But everyone else in the state is doing the same thing. And there's only 3 companies in the state of Vermont that set these trucks up, and they're backlogged to the point that I told Carrie I was reaching out. There's a place in Bangor, Maine, someplace in Long Island, New York. I'm looking at other options to get this truck set up quicker so we have it on the road.
And we just hear, you know, you can be in Hannaford's and you can have a random person confront you. You're asking for another plow truck. You guys have brand new equipment. We just gave you a garage. These are the challenges that we're dealing with on the ground. It's not, you know.
So Alan, nobody like Iroquois could take care of your,
No, they deal with smaller trucks and they don't do the commercial plow setups and stuff. You have like your Viking Chives in Williston, Tenco down in Barry, and then you got your HP Fairfield that's in Morrisville.
okay.
Okay. Al, you had a question?
So should the planning commission relook at the sequence? So should we change the schedule for adding more trucks or replacing trucks to the,
Well, I believe the capital plan, because I had written it out
outside,
and gave
right.
my suggestion to them, and I believe it's pretty much what I had suggested.
is.
Kind of gets us more in line as we go forward.
okay, so
It's been addressed.
it has been
Yeah.
addressed, okay.
No, our planning documents line up with the need. It's just communicating it more and more as we continue to ask for these purchases.
But
mean,
actually, but it sounds to me like you have a delay of almost 2 years.
Pretty much.
So
And this
that's-
is something I brought up to the board before is, we ask the voters for money. I'm a taxpayer and I vote on these articles. But if we're putting money aside for 10, 11 years to get a truck, we ought to be able to be allowed to not go to the voter again and say, hey, can I spend that money you voted on 11 years ago? I should be able to order that. I should have been able to order this truck you're voting on a few months ago.
Right.
So that truck should be hitting this spring
Right.
and
Well, maybe
hopefully
we need
being
to do
ready by
a-
next fall.
Maybe we need to structure the annual contributions to the reserve fund more like we do the fire departments and come up with a.
It's less about that and more about politics, frankly. If the board, I have the authority to order those trucks now.
I am fine
If
with
the
that.
board is comfortable with it and we know that the taxpayers have approved this money, and you said, look, I don't have a problem with you ordering it as soon as you can, which we're going to do.
I mean,
Would like to do, I
I mean,
should say.
The town's changed a lot in the last 10 years. You look at our warnings from 2010, 11, 12, there's 15, 16 articles, you know, will the legal voters of the town authorize the select board to spend $2,500 on this thing and it gets voted down? That's not the case anymore. We don't do that.
I mean, we can work
So-
on it in the next year. In the meantime,
Yeah.
if this gets approved, we are not waiting at all. We're gonna order the truck and hopefully
Well, we're
shorten
gonna-
up
Well,
that
that-
2-year lag.
That was my understanding why we have it in that fund, is so that we can spend
Unrestricted.
it at
Well, we did
your
it for,
discretion.
we've done it before for the
Yeah, I think-
excavator and the,
The town manager should have that discretion, or shouldn't even worry about us,
right.
just
Well,
part of the
there's a truck that's-
responsibility
We
to
just,
do
well,
it.
and
I don't
I think
disagree with that.
we should just educate people that we're doing it. We're not trying to hide anything, full
Right.
transparency. This was, the
I would
funds were
be-
raised for that purpose.
I would be
Order
very
2 at
okay
once, we'll
with,
get the problem over with.
I'd be very okay with this being the last time that we ask to purchase a plow truck.
Well, I mean, I believe in the articles. I think the taxpayer wants to know where the money's going.
Right.
I just think,
You
what
need
if
to
you
be
got
free.
that 1 year after you've collected that money for 10 years and all of a sudden they go, I'm not gonna give it to them this year.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know that
I
they
mean,
would
you've
ever
already
do that.
voted on it.
If that were the case, I don't
know
that we-
why we have to go through that. I mean, we're asking the voters to put the money in this fund so we can purchase the equipment,
In 10 years or whatever.
you know?
we-
So why?
That's what I'm saying is
So let's,
It's-
As
Well, I think
long
we're all
as we're
saying the same
spending it on
thing.
a
Yeah,
study.
yeah, I think we're all in agreement. Carrie's right. So
We're all in agreement. It
that's the
sounds
end of the
fabulous.
warning. Alan, thank you for allowing me to
No
pick
more
your brain.
late deliveries.
Does anybody have any questions for Alan?
Make that happen.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, Carrie, what's next?
Schedule.
All right, so that's fun. Just scrolling up, sorry. So we've got our regular meetings, Monday, March 2nd and Monday, March 16th. Our public informational hearing, which will include an in-depth presentation on the proposed pool along with the budget, will be March 2nd. We hope everybody can attend. And if you can't and you have questions, contact Carrie. She'll get you the answers to anything you need. Any other comments or questions on your schedule? Okay, chair's report. Stan brought it to my attention that as part of some comments that I made about anti-Semitic flyers in and around town, that I mistakenly made a poorly received point about basically Catholicism and the implication of hatred towards religions not being born equal. I'll say that I was very heated and I was a bit emotional about it. And I'll say that if I offended anybody with any of my comments, my cell is 393-7074. Call me. I'd love to talk to you about it. Other than that, we'll move on. And I want to talk about the city's effort, and it is the city's effort, to educate people about the pool, and they're actually kind of running it as a campaign. They have an EDDM permit, by the sounds of it, through the post office to send mailers around to town and city residents. Like, you might get one for a political candidate, you could get one from the hospital, you know, it usually says our neighbor at whatever, and it goes to every door. It's a postcard, I don't know the sizing of it, and it's a lot of the same information that's been displayed directly on the flyer. It's pictures, not unlike what we have there. Information on where the polling locations are in the city and town. They're paying for that themselves. I noticed on the proofs, because they asked us if we had any comments for the proofs, they asked Carrie and I. They don't have it paid for by because they're a municipality, and they believe that they're exempt under campaign finance law from having to put that tagline. They also ordered about $1,300 worth of lawn signs in support of the pool, and that effort is supposed to be funded privately. Then, on my own note, I asked the messenger to help us design some banners, one to be located at City School and then Town School, much like the one we put up in support of our Public Works facility. That won't have a paid for by tagline because I'm paying for those two banners myself. It's just a contribution, that's all.
Conflict of interest policy.
I'm allowed to,
Endorsing an artist.
yeah, I mean, I'm allowed to endorse an article and put a sign on my lawn as long as I don't I'm not using my title. My name won't be on it, but there won't be a paid for by tagline. So I just wanted people to know that, you know, I did pay for that. It's just a matter of transparency for me. But other than that, I don't have anything else. Just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of these things that'll pop up in the next couple of weeks and where they come from.
So just to clarify, and let me understand you correctly, if I want to put a sign up in support of the pool on my property, there's no conflict of interest, is there?
No, because it's
No.
not being signed by the select board.
Right. Right, so this is the same thing, it's just a bigger scale. And I mean, the city manager's supposed to reach out to the superintendent and make sure it's okay before they even go on. But the precedent is that they've allowed it for municipalities in the past for projects, so.
They'll allow it, they allowed it for me. He'll send you to the principal. Principal approves everything for the property.
Okay, so, other business?
I've got something. Getting back to the wall.
The what?
The wall that we have for dedication
Oh, yeah.
pictures.
Yeah.
Mitch Montaigne has been having a hard time coming up with a picture of his father. A
Really?
good picture. But he has an excellent picture of his father and his mother in one picture. Is there anything saying that he couldn't use that one to put on the wall?
I think at this point, it's really just up to the board.
I mean, it's a really nice looking picture of both of them. And let's be honest about things, and Mrs. Montaigne did a lot for this town too, as far as campaigning for all of us at one time or another, and putting up with what her husband went through for 30 some odd years.
You mean living with them?
Pardon me?
You mean living with them?
Yeah, right. I'm glad you said that. So is there would there be a problem with that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't see one personally, but
Well, put it this way. What if you had, in the future, a person who provided a great deal of service to the town, was well recognized, but his wife was not an active participant in the community, and that's the only picture he had. He would be allowed, or she would be allowed to put her husband up, however, what the spouse up. Is that what we're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm just wondering if we have a problem. We talked about pictures of the individual.
Yeah, but
Would it be a problem to have him and his wife in one picture? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess I'm Moses the Messenger has some pictures of Frank.
in the archive.
That
It's,
I've seen pictures of Frank that are very, very
yeah,
complimentary that were
but
by the
this
paper.
is what the family thinks, Al, not what we think. The family thinks it's a nice picture that they'd like to have displayed.
I mean,
I have no problem with it, but
I don't either.
I believe Mitch has got other photos that he would put up on the wall. But while we're on that subject,
No, I'd like an answer to this one before we go any further.
well, he's got a picture of his father with a full beard. He said it's a great picture. I said, that's fine with me. So, but what I want to say is, I don't want a third frame out there that's different than the other two.
Well, we're
should
gonna
have
actually
them reframed.
make those
Yeah, okay.
uniform, they're
That's
all gonna
what we
have to
need.
be the same
See,
size and the
this-
same
this
frame.
way,
And
I
while-
think we really should come up with our policies for that, though.
While
We
we're
should
at
go
it,
through this.
John Blowen, his name was on the building over here,
the garage.
DPW, and we're not
Move it
putting
over.
it up on the other. Why should
can't
he
we-
be on this wall out here?
That or move the sign, move the sign from the building over to the new one.
Why not?
I mean,
Is it one of those brass plaques?
well, no, it's
No, I
uh,
don't,
No,
I think you should give it more thought than just a afterthought at the end of a meeting, but.
so, yeah. I mean, are we gonna make a proposal to add John to the
Yeah, I
honor wall?
would think, no, as much as he's done for, I knew him years ago, but I don't know if he compares to these other people we have on the wall.
Well, he certainly built most of the roads.
Yes,
That
yes.
you're maintaining.
And every mile of road in the town paved by the time he was done, right, Anna?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his goal.
And he only done it with 3 trucks.
Response time was like 4 or 5 hours, which is pretty unacceptable right now for most of us.
I guess, my feeling is, I like the idea of John Bloom because I think he was a major servant to the town for many, many years. So, Gary's addressed the issue of having identical frames for each of the people on the wall.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense.
So now the question comes down, how many people can be in the picture? Well, this is a joke, but what if I want all my illegitimate children in that picture?
What?
No, it wouldn't be that big.
Well, I just
My suggestion is that we
Individual.
keep it to the individual who did service the town.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
if that's what you want, okay,
I believe that'll be good.
okay.
Okay, if that's, so we want to, do we want to talk about and maybe make a motion to add John Bluen to the honor wall now that we're no longer using the existing public works facility?
We
Yeah,
have
it's not
a
on the
photo
agenda.
of John.
No, we
and-
can't. It's not on the agenda.
His sister is still around. I have to find her.
Yeah,
So we need to have that on our next agenda for March 2nd.
yes, that's good.
Okay, let's just
Yeah.
have
Yep.
honor wall. All right, that's fair. Because we learned our lesson.
Yep.
We had a civics
you.
with Stan, and
The other
everybody's all
thing-
set now.
The other thing, when you look back in time, I'm sure there are other people of equal of worthiness that we should consider. Not as a person who grew up here, I'm sure there are a lot of people I don't know who made major contributions to the town that we should think about. I'm even thinking, I know we have Eleanor, but maybe there were other town clerks. Maybe the first town clerk of St. Albans is somebody we should note. But we have a policy, but,
She died in office.
pardon?
Mrs. Collins, she died in
Office?
office. Yeah.
I just think we should.
Here?
No, not here. But
Not in
she
her
is.
office.
Oh,
Yeah, she
Think
is.
about others who
Yeah.
have made major contributions.
We should
to
go
this
back
town.
and
Yeah.
Yeah,
look.
we can think about it.
Yeah, we can invest some time there.
that's why I thought it'd be a good idea if we had people sponsor somebody. I mean, if there's somebody out there that, like you said, there's people we don't even know of.
Right.
And if there's somebody out in the audience or in the community that knows of somebody that did something extraordinarily,
Right.
that was, and volunteered time to the town, then sponsor them and
If
bring
we-
them before the board.
If we
But with a
could,
picture.
Bring a picture.
Jen, when we put that on the agenda, are we just gonna have honor wall, or are we gonna have John Bluen under that also?
It'll be honor wall and then a subsection with his name.
Could we add one for Bob Johnson and finish that up too?
I was just thinking of that myself.
That was months ago. I think we need to finish that up.
I think I'd like a little more time to think about the photo, because I feel like if the family
Yeah,
feels that they
that's
were
where I'm
equal
kinda-
servants to the town, then
Well, I mean,
he may have had the title, but she may have done
there
just as
could be a
much.
case that Annette Monte
behind
could
the
be on that wall
scenes,
on her own.
Brenda.
I mean,
Still
they're-
talking.
sorry.
They say behind every successful man there's a good woman.
Well, I mean,
Trouble
I'm
is, like
sure.
we talked before, there was at least 4 people from the town that passed away last year that made a lot of contributions.
Right,
4.
Mrs.
I
Livingston,
mean,
yeah.
Jimmy Brulette,
Mm-hmm.
the first female select board member.
Who was that?
Mrs. Livingston.
Carol Livingston.
Carol Livingston?
Well, no, Bunny Beard was.
Mm-hmm. I remember Bunny.
Right,
Bunny Beard was.
How many were there in all?
I think there've been 3.
Not enough.
I'm the third.
Sorry, did I say that out loud?
I think I'm the third, and it's 2020.
No.
Fourth.
Prejudice over there, are we?
Not at all.
No.
It's just killing me, sitting on my hands.
Well, that just stumbled out of your mouth.
It did, I'm so sorry.
All right,
All right.
No way.
What'd you say?
Not ready.
any,
All right.
any other business?
We
I
got
think
Jackie Brown here.
Mrs.
We
Brown's
do.
here for a reason.
Do we want to go into executive session to discuss information we received from Mrs. Brown today?
Sure, if that's what you're
I
there
wasn't
for.
planning on it because we didn't get the information till later, but if you'd like, I can go get it. That's why it wasn't on our agenda and it wasn't warned that way last week. If you'd like to do that,
Well, it's an executive session matter, so isn't that able to be,
you can add that.
And you
Yeah.
won't be able to make a motion when you come out.
That's all.
right, well, I don't,
Okay.
we don't anticipate any motions anyway.
Don't.
Okay, so let's do that, I think that's fair.
I'm gonna need to print that.
So somebody would make that motion, it's on the red pen. To go into.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss legal, contractual, or personnel issues where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town at a substantial disadvantage.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Okay, so we are in executive session now.
We wanna go.